What you got, a little surprise for me?
Open it up and see.
All right.
Hi!
Good morning. Good morning. How are we?
I don't believe it.
Here. Now look here, where were you last night?
Me? Why,
Answer yes or no. What were you doing there?
Doing where?
Well, how do we know? Besides, I don't like your looks.
Did you ever take a good look at yourself?
Yeah. Billy!
Hey, turn that off. Will you turn that thing off?
Hold still, will ya?
Does this help?
Yeah, thanks.
Maybe you found someone you like better.
No, he's in the ambulance. This way. Oh, God. Before I open this, don't get your hopes up too high.
Hello. All right, so today we're talking about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This is a cult classic, super fun movie. Before we dive into that, though, we are going to be talking about what's being released tomorrow. So just real quick, every Monday we go over the list of what's coming out on Tuesday. If we're going to pick up some stuff, if we're not, our thoughts on it. And then we're going to dive right into the actual show, which is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Clowns. Yes.
So as we go into tomorrow, hold on, I think my internet's already getting choppy. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know. It's just maybe we should just stop doing the live. Just fucking record this thing.
We might have to, man.
All right, let's see. All right, so we have as tomorrow, we have let's see, I can pull this up here. We have the Killer Clown. So I actually really love this movie poster. So this is something I remember seeing this in the video store every time I saw it. But at the time, like, it was something my mom didn't want to get into. We didn't rent, so we didn't see it. And then I just remember it being on TV all the time. And then I would see bits and pieces. And so I had seen it when I was younger because of that. But it was this movie poster that, like, I just always wanted to see it. And then there was no renting it. My mom was against it.
Yeah.
But this is classic. Like, when you really look at it, like, as far as like the deaths, the kills, like everything that has to do with this movie, it's pretty tame in comparison. It's definitely a more kid friendly horror movie, not really like younger kid, but like it's definitely for your young teenager getting into horror. It's definitely a comedy, so I don't know why she was against it.
Yeah, I remember as a kid it kind of freaked me out a little bit, but watching it as an adult now, it is so tame.
Oh
yeah,
and it's fun. It's so fun.
It is.
But yes, before we get into that, real quick, here's what's coming out tomorrow. So Loki, the complete first season on 4K. I'm going to pass. Yeah. Halloween H2O, the 20 years later 4K Steelbook edition. Now, we've said before, I have Steelbooks, but I'm not a huge Steelbook collector. I did just pick up the Scream Factory 3-pack set that had H2O in it. So this is not one that I need, but it is cool. The artwork on that Steelbook is pretty awesome. So if you are a Steelbook collector, that'll be out tomorrow. I still Know What You Did Last Summer on 4K. Now that's one I do have to pick up. I am going to probably not go out tomorrow because I got some stuff coming in. We're going to talk about that. And I will be getting it, but just probably not tomorrow. How are you on that one?
I'm not the biggest. I mean, look, there's always a place in my heart for Jennifer Love Hewitt, but I'm not the biggest fan of that franchise. It's okay. It's okay.
Bro, I was like, that's the only reason to buy the movie is Jennifer Love Hewitt. That's the only reason I have the Heartbreakers movie.
Heartbreakers, yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a fun like guilty pleasure movie, but Ray Liotta's in it.
Right.
Sigourney Weaver. This is a fun movie, but like really the only reason I have it is, and I have it on VHS.
We all know why we're here.
Yeah. So then Natural Born Killers on 4K. Now this is one that when it came out, I just wasn't a fan. I've tried to watch it several times. I just wasn't into it. However, now I think with the state of everything with movies and how I found like a resurgence in some like older films that I just wasn't really into and
Mhm.
just a real appreciation for those films, I'm going to give this one another shot. So this one's coming out on 4K. Again, I don't think I'm going to go out tomorrow to pick anything up, but I will be picking up this 4K and trying to give it another shot.
I'm interested. I haven't seen that movie in easily like 12 to 15 years. So
Mm.
I'd like to see it now as an older adult than the last time I checked it out.
It makes sense. Makes sense. The Fifth Element, 4K Steelbook Collector's Edition. They're doing a reissue, so it's no new art, nothing special. It's just if you didn't get that original Steelbook, they're reissuing it. Now, here's my other thing. There's actually quite a few reissues at the bottom of this list. That's something I kind of want to talk about. Like, there are Steelbook collectors, and there is like a collectability factor of it, but if they're gonna reissue them and reprint them, like, what's the point? Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, there's only a finite amount of them, and there is a collectability, and then there is that like that adrenaline rush of going hunting on Tuesday to look for the specific steelbook to try to collect it, and then go to all the stores. Like, there's some kind of enjoyment out of that factor for the steelbook collectors, but then when they're going to be reissuing them, within the next couple of years or so, in not doing anything special, but just it's the exact same packaging.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I don't like the artificial inflation
Mhm.
of this little micro economy that we have. It just comes off as companies trying to capitalize on fear of missing out.
Yeah.
I think I talked about this on one of the other shows. Like I picked up a while back the Fright Night 4K Steelbook,
Mhm.
and
That's getting a reissue.
yeah, and that's getting a reissue. The I picked up the Scream Steelbook, that's getting a
Mhm.
reissue. And I'm not really buying this stuff for the sake of, like monetarily collecting them, but
Right.
there is that side of like, well, but then what's the point? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, on the one hand, I feel like a film should be available no matter what. Like that's my issue with Lawrence of Arabia, which I know is
Mhm.
getting a reissue.
Right.
Um, I wanted that film but couldn't get the steelbook when they put it out, whatever it was, like last year, I think.
Mhm.
And the prices on that stuff on that specific movie were through the roof. And now I think either October or November it's getting a re-release. So it just comes off as like skeevy business stuff.
Well, there's that. There's actually quite a bit to unpack there. So you have the skeevy business stuff. You have the like you said this microeconomy of the collectors and it being gouged by the studios.
Yeah.
But then you have this weirdness, and it's not really a weirdness. It's us talking about this stuff on the internet because just 5 years ago it was not as popular as it is now. And the fact that I could go to a store and the steelbooks were on the shelves. I
Right.
remember there's steelbooks in my collection that I only have because the standard edition was sold out and that was all that was left. And it was like cheap. It was on sale. It was on
Yeah.
clearance. It was like $10. Now you can't go to a store on Tuesday and have them on the shelves. Like they're gone. If you're not there at the crack of dawn or you didn't pre-order it, you're
Right.
probably not getting a steelbook. And then you look on the internet right now. I guarantee you tomorrow afternoon or even right now, maybe all the ones that are getting released tomorrow, all those they're already on eBay. They're
Hmm.
already on eBay at those like crazy prices. It's just a weird thing. And like we talked, like the Fright Night, I have the Twilight Time. I'd like to have the 4K. The Steelbook thing isn't a must for me, but having the 4K disc is.
Yep.
But then having that, looking at it's like $100 for the steelbook on eBay right now. This reissue is great because now we're looking at it's like $24. So I
Hmm.
might pick up the steelbook now, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's caused a love-hate relationship with it
A
where
little bit.
there's no rareness now.
And like all the studios are guilty of it. Like I know other channels have talked about it. It's a weird phenomenon.
Well, there is, and like I said, some of my most prized possessions that I have in the thing is the ones that you don't have, and not
Right.
just you specifically, but it's everybody. I have that Lord of the Rings crazy giant box set. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know anyone who has it because it's super limited.
Right.
It's very rare and it's highly collectible, and it was extremely expensive when it came out. I have it, and the fact that if they did a reissue on that, like, there's no point of having it now. It's like
Yeah.
it takes all of the enjoyment away.
Yeah, I was just looking at something similar to this topic like yesterday.
Mhm.
I was pricing some of the stuff in my collection because I never do it, and I'm like, maybe I should actually know what I have in my collection.
Oh yeah,
And I know how you feel about the Babadook, but
yeah.
I was looking at my second sight edition of the Babadook,
Oh,
and
second
like,
sight's a nice thing to have.
oh, it's gorgeous. It's
Mhm.
gorgeous. And like it's like super out of print at this point, and the price is like up there. But again, no plans on selling it. But if that
Right.
was to get reissued, I'm like, well, then what's the point of even having this?
Right. Well, and then there are, and I don't know which one did it, but there is a steel book that once you take the slipcover off, it does say first printing on it. So that's going to be a new thing moving forward.
Right.
And I'm assuming every company is going to adopt that format. So
Yeah.
now there is going to be a first printing. So they're creating something that was never a thing before, where they're just like comic books or vinyl records or something like that, where now the first printing, or books like regular books, first printings are what's valuable. They're creating this and it never was,
Yeah.
and so it's, yeah, there's definitely some first printing steel books out there, and I just don't remember the company that did it.
Yeah, it just, it feels like the variant craze that we kind of go through in cycles with the comic book industry. Like, it just feels like as the film industry becomes more and more niche, they're kind of
Mhm.
adopting these different tactics, and I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, not a fan. But we do have Carlito's Way coming out on 4K. That's an Arrow video release. Looking forward to that. I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Yeah.
At the time when I saw Carlito's Way is also the same time, around the same time I saw Scarface.
Okay.
I love both of those, but they're completely different films.
Very much.
In the same vein, in the same kind of hemisphere, but they're at opposite ends, and both enjoyable. But I think I like Carlito's Way a little bit better. Just
A little
haven't
bit.
seen it in 20 years. So I just have to rewatch it and revisit it and kind of get my feelings about it. But I remember at the time when I watched it, not that I liked it better than Scarface, really. I think it just hit differently.
Right. Right.
So
No,
in some ways I like it better than Scarface, but in some ways I like Scarface better.
yeah, I like Scarface, but Carlito's Way felt like one of those films that was for like our generation,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
and I think that's
Well,
why I gravitated towards it more.
well, there's that, and Scarface is just way over the top. Like
Yeah, it is.
it's like the equivalent of letting Jim Carrey just free reign. It's like, here you go, Al Pacino, just do whatever you want. Like, that's what Scarface feels like.
Right.
And then
And
they
plus, if
took
I'm
all the serious stuff, they just left it on the cutting room floor, and all the crazy wacky stuff they left it in.
and plus, if I'm not mistaken, Carlito's Way has Penelope Ann Miller in it, right?
Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen it, so it was very possible.
I
Very
think so.
possible.
I think so. Big crush on Penelope Ann, especially in
Yeah,
that, and
she's
especially in
great.
that and the Shadow.
Oh yeah, she's great in that too.
Yeah.
All right. Next, so we have that. Carlito's Way 4K. So that's something I'm interested in. Going to be grabbing that eventually. Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 4K 35th anniversary limited edition reprint steelbook. Again, we
Mhm.
already talked about that. The Train 4K from 1964. So that'd be something worth checking out. Let me just pull up that real quick, see what that is.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
It's a Kino Lorber, Burt Lancaster film from
Okay.
60s. It looks like a war film. It might be worth checking out. Complete native 4K remaster. So yeah, looks like it's
Yeah.
a pretty solid film. I do like the 60s cinema. I do like 70s cinema a little bit better, but 60s is
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, that's that Clint Eastwood film. That's a 4K. Looking at getting that 74. Obviously, I got to get that one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Um,
down.
Moon Age Daydream 4K Digipack. That's a Criterion collection, and that's looks like David Bowie on the cover.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I
don't
was gonna I
even.
was gonna say that sounds like a Criterion movie. I have
It
no
is a
idea what that
Criterion
is.
movie. Yeah, but yeah, I'll show you what it looks like real quick because it looks like David Bowie. I can't be positive. Oh, let's see. There we go. Yeah. But it says 2022. So if that was the date the Criterion got it. So yeah, this one.
Oh, okay. I've seen that floating around. The image, at least. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Bowie. Yeah, David Bowie, Daydream. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not usually into the music stuff. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. For me, Bowie lives and dies with Labyrinth.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's where it is for me.
Yeah, it always comes back to "And Baby said."
Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So then we have another classic, My Bloody Valentine 4K Collector's Edition, uncut version, 4K plus the Blu-ray / theatrical version. That's a mouthful.
Oh.
1981 version of My Bloody Valentine. So that's something I'll be picking up. Again, it's not going to be a day one for me, but I'll get that one eventually.
Yeah.
Classic 80s film, 4K horror, all that extra goodness. I'm in. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan's coming out season 3 on 4K. So we're getting TV shows on 4K now. So everybody that claims that physical media is dying, I can't afford it all. There's just so much.
If they're putting out the Amazon Jack Ryan series on 4K, that means the audience is way healthier than people want you to believe.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I do know that there is that push to digital and streaming and all that, but it's just not going to work. Oh, and I got this. I don't know if I'm going to give this code away, but I got this code for The Exorcist.
Okay.
And I might give it away. I might give it away out of spite because the back of the spine or the back of the thing. Did you pick up The Exorcist or no?
No.
So the back of this, obviously, I made a whole video talking about this, but the whole back of it here, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see because my lights aren't right.
Yeah.
But there's this red warning right here. This red warning. It says, "Digital movie code redemption requires prior to acceptance of the terms and conditions above. May not be sold separately and may only be redeemed by the owner of this disc and or family member." So they're saying you can't give these away, but how are they going to monitor and police that? So that's like a one. I'm so tired of the tyrannical everything. Like, don't tell me what I can do with this. Right. I can't use it. I can't stream. Like my internet is usually not good enough. Like this is the only time we have good internet, and sometimes it's not even that good.
Yeah.
So like to actually stream something, I get the buffering. It's never fun. So I usually don't have these. And then they're telling me I can't give it away. Come on.
And it's like I bought the disc so that I don't have to stream the GD movie. Like
right. Well, and that was my other frustration with The Exorcist is the special features are on this digital, but they're not on here. So I had to go out and buy the $10 Blu-ray to get the extra special features.
I don't like that at all.
Not a fan.
Yeah, man. I got that. I think it was issued by Best Buy like 2 or 3 years ago. It's a steel book with a red cover of the priest standing, the famous image. And it's like the extended director's cut. I'm still good with that version, man.
Yeah. Although I'm telling you, this, I hadn't watched it in 20 something years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoyable on the 4K, and the Atmos track on here, incredible. The scene where she's crawling down the stairs backwards, like I had to turn and look. Like I thought there was like something going on behind me.
That's crazy.
Not realizing that it was the speakers and stuff. It was really good. So
I love that. That's amazing.
It was awesome experience. Just frustrating that the special features are extra.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's a lot. Natural Born Killers. More. There's Best Buy exclusives are coming out. The Elemental 4K Ultimate Collector's Lenticular Edition. Walmart exclusives are coming out. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon Steelbook reprint is coming out. Lawrence of Arabia 60th Anniversary Limited Edition reprint is coming out tomorrow. Fright Night 4K will be out tomorrow. Those are all reissues, and so that's the frustrating part of the collecting.
Right.
So what was the point of going to get this? I didn't get any of that, but like obviously the steelbook collectors, they got to kind of feel a little gypped because there's it's repackaged. It's not new artwork. It's not something special. It's not a second edition. This is just something I don't know. I would be irritated.
Yeah. No, I totally would be too. And yeah, I thought it was October or November. I didn't know tomorrow
No,
was Lawrence of Arabia.
no,
Like,
it's tomorrow. So the Fright Night's tomorrow. Starship Troopers reprint is tomorrow.
okay.
Equalizer 2 4K Steelbook is tomorrow. And Dio Dreams Never Die 4K is also tomorrow. I don't even know what that was. And there is a Dario Argento 4K I thought was coming out tomorrow either. It's the one I can't pronounce. It's like Tenemare.
Oh, Tenebrae or
Yeah, that one. That one. I thought that was coming out tomorrow, but it's not on this list. But
okay.
I could have swore it was coming out tomorrow.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's the list. On that list, was there anything that really, really stood out other than obviously Lawrence of Arabia and some of the other ones there?
Yeah, Lawrence and Natural Born Killers are probably the two highest on my list. Carlito's Way, but like that can wait.
Mhm.
But yeah, those two. Like again, when Natural Born Killers came out, I know they're both Tarantino screenplays. I was more of a true romance guy.
Yeah. Oh, I just watched True Romance again, and I did get the 4K Arrow video, and
Oh,
that's
nice. Yeah,
totally worth it.
yeah, it is.
Really enjoyable experience. I hadn't seen it in a little, I mean, maybe a year or two. It
Yeah,
was like the last time I actually saw it because I think I showed it to my youngest or my oldest daughter, not my youngest daughter, my oldest daughter.
I was gonna say, dude.
Well, we watch movies, she just gets into stuff. But
Right.
no, I showed it to my older daughter. Like, so it was just like maybe a few years ago as I revisited it. But then I just picked up the 4K when it came out. It was a day one purchase, but I finally got around to being able to watch it the other day. Really enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally, man.
Oh, for sure. Now we have that going on. We have this going on. We're here for Killer Clowns.
Yeah,
So
we are.
before recently, you just watched it last week. What was the last time you watched this one?
Oof, dude, it was a minute. Like I I judge most things by my relationship with Selena because there's so much of pop culture that just went right over her head during her
Mhm.
teens and 20s. So like I think the last time I saw it was before we got together, so easily 20 plus years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is something I enjoy, and here's the thing: is I went like a whole span. I remember like being a teenager and this just being on TV all the time. I remember the commercials. I just really enjoyed it. And this was something that I had always thought that there was like a franchise to that I had thought that there was like a whole bunch of these movies, but no, it was just the one this whole time.
Yeah.
And so I had went like so I watched it when I was a teenager, and then it was like pretty much my entire adult life. I just kind of forgot about it. I never saw this on the store shelves when I was buying movies back in the day. This just kind of somehow or other missed me. And then a few years ago, I picked it up on the Arrow Video.
Yeah.
So I got that on Arrow Video, and I've been watching it every single year since. I die laughing every time I watch it. My
Yeah.
wife rolls her eyes. She hates this movie, but it's one of my favorites, and it's so enjoyable. Just really, really classic. And as I was watching it again today, you can't help but think when you watch this movie, even though it's a horror movie and they're killer clowns, they're killing people, and there's that, it's like a wholesome horror. There's
Yeah, it
something,
is.
there's no nudity. There's
Right.
no, I mean, like, not that I'm against nudity. It's kind of one of my favorite things, but there's like no nudity. The kills are kind of very tame. A lot of stuff is off screen. Um, there's not a lot of gore. There's like a little bit of blood that's there. It's just a little bit. The only one thing that's like maybe kind of where you're just like, oh, whoa, is when and we'll talk about it later, is when the one kill the clown turns him into a puppet. And
Right, right,
so
right.
there's that. But even that, you don't really, it's more in your imagination. You hear the noise when he pulls the hand out of his body and the sucking of the noise and then the red hand, but they don't show any of that. And
Right.
so, like I said, it feels like a very wholesome horror movie. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, yeah, like the heaviest because again, I made notes. The heaviest moment was the whole as you said the puppet thing and he's like
Mhm.
all we want to do is kill you or something like that. Like
Yeah.
that's a heavy horror movie moment and then it just goes right back to this like lighthearted romp almost.
Yeah, and then so like if people don't know, the Chiodo brothers did this one, and they did all kinds of different special effects for different movies, but famously the Critters movies. They've directed stuff. They've been involved in filmmaking for a long time, but this one here, and you can tell when you watch it. There's a because there's also this vibe. I don't know if you picked up on this, but I definitely picked up on this. If to me, it feels like it has a pulls a lot of influence from 50s monster movies.
Yeah, yeah,
And so you have that, and then but then you can feel other movies, but maybe you can't quite place which one it comes from because there's influence. There's no direct copying, and so if there's any like real big homages, it just kind of went over my head because maybe I didn't see that movie. But you can get you feel a lot of the vibes, and so it feels really good. Where you're, I'm not watching and going, oh, that's this movie, but there's that there. And so as I was like doing a little research on this,
Mhm.
they literally made this entire movie based on like all of the fun things in the movies that they actually loved. And so obviously you get the 50s monster vibe because they pulled influence from those movies.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that I mean, that was the surprising thing for me rewatching this after so many years. It really does feel like this melding of like a 50s B movie with the gross out practical effects of the time in the 80s, like
Yeah, yeah.
just
But
like
other than that, it
mixing
didn't
it up.
feel like the 80s.
Right.
I mean, even though it was, it just it almost felt like it was a 50s movie, like you said, like a 50s B movie, and it just had like the clothing and the language and the stuff of the 80s, but it didn't seem like it was in the place of the 80s at the time.
Yeah.
And this one, I think it came out in 88. Let's see.
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, this was just, as I said, super, super fun. Now, there's good news for fans of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. There is a sequel in the works, and the main character, which I always thought was great, that his last name was Tobacco. So
Yeah.
Mike
Yes.
Tobacco, the main character in the film, he's slated for the sequel. Like he's in it. Like, he's
That's
there, top
awesome.
build. He's already there, and it's in production. So it's moving along. This isn't just like a pipe dream in the works. It's already in production. They're working on it. So I'm looking forward to that. And there's a video game, and the trailer was released 4 weeks ago. And it looks super fun. It just, everything you expect out of a, Killer Clowns video game, just in that little bit of a trailer, it's there. Even the pizza scene where, in the movie, she opens up the door and they're having the pizza,
Right.
that's in the video game. So I am really, really looking forward to this one. I haven't played games in a little bit. I've been really focused on movies and doing the 4K stuff, and this will probably be not a day one pickup, but it'll be like a top of the list. Got to get the game and got to play it.
Right. Yeah, I definitely want to check out the trailer when we're done here. And
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
depending on how it looks, man. Yeah, I'm down. Like I can only really do like four, maybe 3 or 4 games a year just with my schedule.
Mhm.
But yeah, if it's up there, I will definitely
Oh, it looks
I'll
fun.
definitely
Looks
play it.
really fun. Astro Zombie says the boardwalk at the end of this is the same from the Lost Boys.
Oh, hey.
That makes
Okay.
sense. Makes sense. Another great film. Yeah, so there was that. Real quick, yeah. So the Chiodo brothers created this. Now, they did a lot of the monster effects, but one of the brothers actually did for the mega clown at the end of the movie. He was
Yes.
in that suit, like it was him. It was one of the brothers.
Oh,
One of the
wow.
brothers
Okay.
did
That's
that.
cool.
But then these monster suits, these clown suits, famously were reused for Ernest Scared Stupid.
Right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
as the trolls, like they were, running out of budget, running out of money, they just said, "Hey, we got these costumes." They just kind of repurposed them and did that. And then it's another callback to the movies that they love.
Hmm.
Instead of like preserving that, which you would think that most studios, most Hollywood, most everything today would preserve it because there's money in it. Where they did the old Hollywood style of like, hey, we have this thing, we could just redo it, different special effects. All of these movies that they've worked on, they use all the practical effects and they do things differently like that. So it was just nice to see it. And then as I was watching Ernest Scared Stupid not too long ago with my kid, it was very noticeable. I'm like, oh, that is the clown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, they worked on that one as well. Yeah, those are fun. Oh, that's what it was, Clownzilla. was the name of the giant clown at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, super fun. There was that one. Now here's this. So as we pull this in, let's take this out here. So as we start the movie, and like we were talking about, it's got that like classic 50s style. So they have, let's see.
Yeah, they just straight up have a makeout point.
Yeah, they do. So you have the opening scene. The opening scene's at the Burger Hut. They go through and they show you the small town USA.
Mhm.
You get introduced to the first cop here. Hold on, let's see. Bring this in. So you get introduced to the first cop, and he's just the old curmudgeon, the old miserable, guy. He runs the town. He's there. So you get introduced to him, and just in everybody doing their town stuff. And so it's
Yeah.
just I like the way this was shot. But as you go through here, you're getting introduced to some of the other characters.
Mhm.
Obviously, they're stocking up to go to the makeout point. But then as they go up here, let's see, it's every single shot, every single picture of this movie is in here. Normally, when I pull this up, there's like 12 pictures total. Every single, it's like they took the entire film and just put it out on this
This was a
website.
labor of love for somebody.
Yeah, it was. Because it's literally scene for scene. All right, so now they're at the makeout point, but then here was the funny part. The other brothers here, the friends, the
Right.
goofy ones, they're in the clown car, and as it's coming up, like if you've never seen the movie before, it's called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. There's this clown truck showing up, like almost like an ice cream truck, and you're just like, what the heck's going on? So when you first see it, and you don't know any different, and you're just like, what the heck's going on? But this is just, it sets up everything for fun. Everybody gets introduced. There's no crazy like weird introductions. It just kind of just flows, just gets right into the movie. Really enjoyable. You don't have to have any explanation. These guys are kind of screw ups. They're goofy. They're definitely there for comic relief, even though the entire movie's a comedy.
Well,
Uh,
that's part of playing into the 50s angle of it too. Like they're you know who the main characters are like about 15 minutes into it, but there isn't the traditional structure of introducing you to anyone. It just goes.
yeah. No, it's really enjoyable. And the only other film that I remember that did it that well was American Graffiti.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So just the way how that one just kind of starts out, and again, it have obviously pulls from all the '50s vibes and
Right.
that whole
Right.
race scene. It was kind of that same feel, really enjoyable. Oh, and maybe Fast Times at Ridgemont High has that
Sure.
same kind of way to do things. And so this was just a callback to those. I really enjoyed it. But as we get introduced to everybody, here's our main character and his girlfriend, and he's really more. So obviously, he's into making out with her, but we see the clowns. They show up. There's the shooting star. He's really into the shooting star, but he's also like into his goofy friends that show up and acting goofy. Not really paying attention to her. And I'm just like, yeah, that's how guys are, you know.
Yeah. And I thought
She,
they had the weirdest name too. They're the Tenzi brothers.
yeah. So it's just great. But then I looked at this episode. It's like it's a little goofy. They're at a makeout point with their other friends in their other cars making out, but they have champagne.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's just odd. I don't know. Yeah, it just always threw me off. Like she's a little bit fancy. She's a little bit fancy. But then here's where it's funny. So the Tenzi brothers here, they're talking about getting the girls, but very shortly we find out the girls are already in the back.
Right.
Yeah, this is just classic. And you have a different a different approach because normally, like especially in these like horror movies, you have like the big busty women, the sex symbol, like the dumb blonde, like you have all these like tropes that go in these horror movies. But no,
Right.
no, no. They go the opposite way, and it just worked because you have the Tenzi brothers who are kind of goofy, they're kind of screwing up, and it's there. It's very apparent they're there for the comedic relief. But then they get these broads that don't want anything to do with them, and they tell them right there they're eating popsicles. They're large women, and they're only worried about the food, and they point blank say they're not going to do anything with them.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of a subversion because all the chicks in the movie end up being some of the smartest characters in the whole thing.
yeah. It was really enjoyable. And now, uh, it worked. It worked on so many levels. But this scene here for me, it was just not really like it didn't throw me for a loop, but it was a little eye opening of being able to do something different.
Mhm.
Because when I first saw this, I was like a teenager, and like you're just used to seeing, the same types of women in these horror movies. And this
Right.
one, one, they're in the back, so then they're talking about getting more popsicles or whatever they were saying. They pop out, and you're just like, whoa, that's not like the normal women we're used to seeing. The ones that are falling up the stairs as they're running away to the dead end room to get away
Right.
from the killer. No,
Right.
this is just different, and it's just enjoyable. Then we have, so then they go away. See, yeah, this whoever literally took a screenshot of
It's
every single
ridiculous,
scene
man.
is absolutely ridiculous because like we're 4 pages in. So now here we go. Now this one here I felt was a callback, and I mean, I don't know if you agree, but I feel that it's a callback to the 1950s Blob. So this
Yeah, yeah,
character
yeah.
here, you have the farmer who sees it, he goes to investigate, and then he's excited because it's a circus, and he wants
Yep.
to go see the circus. But then very quickly, he realizes it's not the circus,
Yeah.
which again I feel is the callback to the opening of the Blob.
And he loses his Pooh Bear, his dog.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's let's see, there's going on there. Let's see. Yeah, I wish there was less photos. I really do. Yeah, here we go. So as we see the old man farmer, he goes to see this was the shooting star. This was just a cool idea that this is the spaceship. I don't know where this whole thing came from, but obviously the three of these brothers, they wrote this together. They're involved in making this, and it's just borrowing from everything that they've loved to then create something so original yet so familiar. I don't know. I really do love this film.
Yeah, I think the circus tent ship is my favorite spaceship in B movie history. Like, I think it's my
I think
favorite.
it's very original. Like I can't recall of anything that's so wacky and wild like that.
Right, because you either get the traditional flying saucer, like Plan 9 style,
Mhm.
or you get something that's just derivative of everything else from the 70s and 80s. Like,
Yeah.
they
You have
just
like
went full
Suburban
hog with this
Commando
one.
ship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is it's different. And the whole Killer Clowns thing is just I don't know, the whole thing's wild.
It's great.
Yeah, so then we go. He's like, it's just you feel bad for him a little bit, like because he's excited. He's this old man who just wants to go to the circus.
Yep.
There's no circus. But then as we progress into this and we start seeing the clowns, it's a very interesting way how they do it.
Yeah.
One, they put their victims in cocoons of cotton candy. And the popcorn guns, they shoot the popcorn guns. The popcorn's kind of alive. It kind of has a sentient thing. There's just so much to enjoy about this.
Yeah, the popcorn gun is one of the few movie props I'd consider buying.
Uh,
I'm not a big prop guy, but I love the guns in this movie.
I'm kind of a big prop guy. Like, I mean, I don't have a lot of stuff, but I definitely would. And yes, the props from this movie in a heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we have him trying to get in. He gets caught by this guy, this clown here. And this is the first time we really see it. And as you go into it, you got rubber monster suits over the top. They're large heads, large bodies. Something about this is just so good. And every time we see the clowns on screen, there's nothing about it. I know I'm watching a B movie. I know everything on there is fake, but it's somehow I'm like they did it so well. Like there's
Yeah.
sometimes when they have rubber monster suits and there's actors in it, it just kind of feels stiff like a rubber monster suit. However, these guys didn't. They even like there was the one scene where they were getting run over by the car a little bit. They're
Mhm.
falling around. They still kind of acted like clowns
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And I really enjoy that when they knock on the door to give the girl the pizza. And they're like pizza, it's
Yeah.
they all show up, and then the guy pops out of the pizza and shoots her with a gun. Like that whole thing is just comical, and it felt like clowns because then they're cramming all those guys in that little tiny space. It's almost as going to the circus and watching clowns come out of the car.
Yep.
It's the same thing, and so I don't know, the attention to detail in this movie I think is above what it probably deserved.
I think part of what freaked me out about it as a kid was the animatronic design, like just the look of the clowns reminds me so much of. Do you remember that video for Land of Confusion? I think it was a Phil Collins joint, and like it was like all these political figures as messed up puppets.
Vaguely familiar. I never really cared for the. I'm not a music guy.
Okay. Well, that music video messed me up as a kid. So I think
Yeah.
my brain associated them together. And yeah, like looking at it as an adult now, like just like the amount of detail that went into the construction of these suits is ridiculous, man.
Oh, it really is. And so it's just enjoyable. And then the fact that they were able to reuse them in the Ernest Scared Stupid movie. So it was
Yep.
just nice. They got a second life. Oh, I thought I had the IMDb page pulled up. So I forget the cop's name. So you got the hard-nosed cop who's
Mhm.
just hates all the younger people and just kind of angry. And you see all that transpire here. But then we have this going on. Let's see. Yeah, every single scene. We're gonna watch the entire movie right now.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I don't know why they did it like this. There should have just been like 20 or 30 of these.
It's basically like we're going through the movie paused. Like,
I guess it really is. It's scene for scene. So they go to investigate. They go to investigate the spaceship. They're going to check it out. At first, they don't realize it's a spaceship. They think it's just like everybody else. They think it's a carnival, a fair. There's just a tent, like a circus tent. So they go in, and it takes a second for them to realize what it is, and then they see the cocoons, which are right here. So these pink cocoons of cotton candy. They see these. They think it's cotton candy. I think she's the one who says this isn't normal, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it is." And then he goes to take some cotton candy, and then there's a person's face underneath, and so it was just again the kill was off screen. You didn't see it, and then when you see the face, it's not like all gory and bloody, and so like again, even though it's fun, it's kind of tame as for what it is. And like I said, it's like I feel like it's a wholesome horror movie.
yeah. The sheriff, by the way, is John Vernon.
Oh,
Which,
okay.
which I completely forgot. Not only is he in Dirty Harry, but he's also the dean in Animal House.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yes, that's a super secret double probation.
Yep.
Yeah. So then, yeah, and I don't know what happened to her, but I thought she was kind of cute.
She is kind of cute. And as I was watching it, she would have made a great April O'Neil.
Yeah. I mean, all these stills of her make her have a goofy face, so it just
Yeah.
kind of negates what I just said. But
Yeah.
yeah, I could see the April O'Neil thing. Yeah, and here we go. Here's the first scene. So we see the first kill. Basically, we see it,
Right.
and it's like I said, it's pretty tame. It looks like a candied apple
Right.
more than anything. But yeah, this is just fun. But we go into so they realize they're in for some terror. They're going to run away, and as they run away, you start to see the popcorn. Now, there's something about the popcorn which is really fun because the one girl was taking a shower and there's popcorn on the ground, and that's
Right.
when you see it to start to move.
Right.
And so then it's just one of those things where you just like, and on top of the killer clowns, on top of all the shenanigans, now the popcorn's alive. And
Yeah,
then
and what's weirder is it's like the popcorn is almost like it like it like coagulates into like eggs because like in the shower like a bunch go into the hamper and then the
Mhm.
head pops out and it's like
Yeah. We're gonna
clown
get
head.
there. Oh, and that, like again, I just love the monster effects. And so what I feel is like some of these B movies, when they put them together, I've always just had this thought of like it's just a bunch of buddies in a room where
Yeah.
there's nobody telling anybody no. And so somebody's like, "Oh, I got this great idea," and it's like off the wall wacky. And then so instead of somebody going, "That doesn't work," the other buddy's like, "And then what happens?"
Right. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so they're
yeah.
like, "Okay," and then monsters with heads come out of the hamper after the popcorn was in there. Like,
Right.
and they're like, "Okay," and so like that's how I feel that this entire thing went out. And again, it's the three brothers that put this together, so that's probably how it worked out.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, this is something here. But then there was the scene because like when I was younger, when I first saw this, when the one clown puts the popcorn in the trash can, like I didn't
Mhm.
understand that at the time. You know, I didn't really understand that the popcorn was, alive.
Right. Yeah.
And then okay, and again, attention to detail. So then we have this. So as they're running out of the spaceship, you have the two clowns chasing them. So you have these two clowns chasing them. Again, just great monster effects, fun. Really enjoyed that. But then they have the dog. So
Dude, the dog
what
cracks me up.
what circus is not complete without somebody making balloon animals? And then not only that, they're looking for the people with the balloon dog.
Yep.
And it's on a leash.
Balloon
And then
dog's tracking them. It blew
it's
my
tracking
mind.
it, but then they run it over.
Yeah.
And there's the scene where you see it. So instead of like obviously in real life the balloon would pop, but like as they did it for this film, they run it over and then there's like the pieces of it. So there's like an arm over here, an arm over here, and so they run it over and it's just like it kind of splits up.
Yeah.
So it's just oh man, it's just a good fun time. Yeah, so as we're running away, here it is. They actually showing it. So here's the dog on the leash, looking for the people like a bloodhound.
It's great.
It is so fun. And again, I don't know who greenlit this movie, but I'm glad they did. Because like try to get funding for this movie and then say, oh, we're gonna take a balloon animal and we're gonna make it look for the people.
I just imagine like the day they were filming this was when one of the producers came to the set and the producer just being like, what the F did I just give all my money to?
Yeah. Yeah, like that's the scene that shuts down production.
Yeah.
No, but it works. And then here we go. So here's the scene right before it gets run over. The dog is chasing the car. The car's backing up. Let's see. Do they even have it? I don't know. Oh yeah. So here's the scene I was talking about. So they get hit by the car, and as they get hit by the car, they roll off of it and they're rolling on the ground. And again, it just felt like clowns. Like it felt like a clown at a circus just putting on an act.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like a guy in a rubber monster suit. And so it just again, just fun.
Look at all that.
Yeah. There's definitely there's a lot to go into that. But again, more enjoyable than what we get now. What we get now is just CGI. You've said it a million times. Heads on sticks.
Yep.
Painted costumes. It's not as fun. But here's the scene where they're running away, which is also great. But they get hit and they're rolling on the ground. And obviously this whole scene was choreographed. It was planned out and everything, but it just again, I think it worked for the whole scene because it felt like you were watching clowns at a circus.
Yeah.
Let's see, what do we got here? So now they're running away, they're panicking about the clowns, which I mean, I wouldn't panic about that. Let's see. And then it's just nice because we're seeing the clowns. There's not a ton of killing so far. There's just very minor, but we're getting to see this stuff. And it's just, I don't know, enjoyable. If you have nothing but killing, which is great. But you look at like the newer Halloween movie, which is like all like 1 million kills. But then you look at like the very first Halloween movie, well, there's like 3.
Right. Exactly.
Total, right? So like I enjoy these a lot more.
I do too. I mean, like you said it earlier, like there's just a real weird oddball charm to this movie, and it's like the textbook definition of like it does what it says on the box. Like it's about as what it says on the box as you can get. Like I don't know. Like I love the charm of this movie.
Well, like you said, there's charm to this movie, but then like it's everything about it is it's pure entertainment.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was a kid, my mom would ask me like, "How could you watch that garbage?" And I was like, "Because this garbage is fun."
Right.
Like that's once it's over, it's over. It's just and you can revisit it any time. It's just really enjoyable. There's no message. There's no heartwarming story. This thing's not winning awards. It might have won some kind of like awards, but like it's not winning an Oscar. These aren't like heartfelt things. It's not deep thought. We're just just enjoyable movies.
Yeah, it feels like it exists first and foremost to entertain the brothers themselves, But in the
Yeah.
process, they entertain the rest of us.
Yeah, very much so. And then we meet the cop here, the younger cop who's kind of a dick.
A little bit.
And he obviously does not like our main character, Mike Tobacco. And I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but was there did he have a thing for her? Because at the end of the movie, he's like holding on to her.
Yeah, like they're exes. Like
Oh, that's okay. So I don't know.
they say about 10 minutes after they first all meet, she's like, "Yeah, he's my ex." And like he Tobacco just has this look on his face like, "Great, I'm competing against a cop."
Yeah, because I just never really paid attention to that then, because at the very end, like it always was like he's like rubbing on that guy's girl. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the movie, he's hugging on her.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then so they're arguing, they're fighting out, and then we got the clowns, and then they're going to the town, which is where the cop and Mike actually see the first kill, which is great. Because that I didn't expect either.
Yeah, I feel like the shadow puppet show is the turning point of the movie.
It is. And so you have just like, again, there's just nobody's dying here. They're just out. They're doing their thing, just being a little creepy. And again, just really enjoyable. But then they go into the alley. Let's see, where's all this stuff going on here?
With the amount of shots, you're probably gonna have to go another like 10 pages.
I know, this is ridiculous. Let's see. But so yeah, they go into the alley, and we see the very first one. So we see, your typical stereotypical. Did I go past it?
No, I didn't. No,
No, I didn't. Okay, yeah. So they're driving. All right. So then we see this one. This is the hot blonde that you expect. This is the broad you expect in these kind of movies.
Right.
She's half naked. You can really see through her dress. She opens the door for the pizza, and the clowns show up. And so the one's there, creepy, but then you see there's one on each side, and then the one that pops out of the pizza box. And like I said, this is just an homage to the clown car. They're all stuffed in, crammed in. He pulls out the popcorn gun. He shrinks her down, puts her in a balloon.
Yep. Yeah, that's really like I think at a certain point they just got bored like with the cotton candy thing, and they're like, what other ways can we like kill or imprison humans? Because like there's the balloon, there's a couple different variations to the whole thing.
Oh no, this one's not the balloon. So the girlfriend from the beginning, she goes to the balloon. So this one goes into cotton candy. Which is also fun because later in the movie, when we see they drink the blood from them with a crazy straw,
right?
And that's why they're doing this. So it's just that's fun. Let's see, we have this clown here, absolutely ridiculous. Let's see. So then, so we have them here. She gets dropped off. They're going on a ride. He doesn't believe. The cop doesn't believe that the clowns are there. He's kind of blowing the whole thing off.
Yeah.
And then they go see the very first one. So this is the clown that we see that goes into the alley, and he kills the first guy. Now the cop doesn't see this. Mike doesn't see this. He punches the guy's head off. Right. That was the craziest thing I had ever saw when I was a kid. I was just like, what the heck? Because the whole thing is comical. Like he's, kind of bullying him. The clown just kind of shows back up with boxing gloves. He's going to fight him. And the next thing he knows, he says, "You're going to knock my block off." And he does. Mm-hmm. And then it goes into a trash can. Here it is. So here's the bullies in the alley.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, this is, stereotypical for all the 80s movies, maybe even some of the 70s movies. These are your thugs. These are your gang members, your alley dwellers. It's just like, none of these people really look scary.
Right.
Like, none of them.
Right. And none of this stuff actually existed in reality in the 80s. Like, it was just a stereotype of what people thought gangs were.
It's like mother's fears. Really, what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we see the clown. He's walking up, which is great. We see that walk. It feels a little like Jaws, where it's just kind of slowly showing up. You see it, and so far we hadn't really seen a lot of kills. We haven't seen a lot of things. So we're like, what's going to happen? Is this a little harmless? And then they're making fun of him.
Right.
So you have, that's what alley bullies do. They
Right.
just make fun
Not
of you.
Meatloaf there.
Yeah, not Meatloaf. Oh man, I forget. What's that movie that he's kind of the biker? What's that?
I
There's a
mean,
movie where Meatloaf is a biker.
well, not oh god, why am I blanking on
Never mind. I'll figure it out.
not Rocky Horror.
No. The Meatloaf's a biker in this other movie. Like
Okay.
he plays like a badass.
Okay.
So anyway, that was a tangent. All right, so back to this. So then here's the scene. So he says, "What are you going to do, knock my block off?" And he does. And on top of it, you look at the size. He's super small, and he's a killer clown.
Right. No one taken off guard by the size of his head.
No, not at all. Not. And the thing is, like, they don't realize that they're aliens. They just think that they're people dressed in costumes or something, and nobody's questioning like the proportions at all. So yeah, he literally puts boxing gloves on and knocks the guy's head clean off his face. Here we go. Here's the boxing gloves. Yeah. And where it is. So we see he punches him right here. We see that.
Yep.
And then it cuts. She's panicking, which is just great.
Yeah.
And the next thing you see is the head going in the trash can.
Right in the trash.
And that's pretty much the goriest thing you see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we have let's see. Yeah, it's just too many pictures. Too many pictures to talk about this. Let's see. So then he pulls them in. They see the first time they see it is the shadow puppets.
Yeah, I was being sarcastic when I said 10 pages, but I really do think it's been about 10 pages now.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. So the shadow puppet. Okay, so we'll skip the shadow puppet part, but that was a cool part too. So the clown creates shadow puppet on the wall, and then the shadow puppet eats the guy, and then they panic. They go to shoot him, but then he puts the shadow puppet in the bag of popcorn, which is just a cool thing. So we see this. So we see this girl. She goes to take a shower, and the popcorn goes into the hamper, and as it comes out. Let's see. Oh, we also see this. I don't remember that guy. Oh, that's the burger guy. So the burger guy gets eaten because the clowns were putting popcorn in this dumpster. And so as he opens it up, he gets sucked in. So we don't know why he gets sucked in. We saw the popcorn go in, but we don't know what the popcorn turns into. We don't see that until the girl in the shower, her hamper shows us. But yeah, he gets sucked into there and gets pretty much eaten by the popcorn. So the entire time they don't like each other. They're talking in the car. They don't like each other, and he's trying to convince him that there's killer clowns from outer space. Which again, if you were told that, there's no way you're believing that anyway.
Right, of course. Here it is. Is this it?
This is it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we see the clown here. He's waving, and of course, the old lady, she's like, "Oh, look at the cute little clown." Tells her husband to look. So then he does the shadow puppet. He does this, and then the shadow puppet eats the people. Are they going to show? Are they skipping on that? There we go.
There, a little bit more. Yep. Well, yeah, yeah, and then it turns from a bunny into like a T-Rex head or something.
Yeah, it's holy crap! There's like so much going on.
I mean, A for effort from this guy, but
yeah,
this is too much.
Way too much. Yeah. So then in this scene, he turns into a lady, so he's distracting everybody. But then
there it is. Here
it is. Yeah. So then he turns it into a T-Rex, and again they used old school special effects on this, which was just great. And then you have these guys are just getting like, look at that face. That is just great.
I mean, how else would you look?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I would look. I mean, I make that face when I show off DVDs. So I mean, I get it. I get it. So then he does that. So what happened was he takes the puppet, he eats the people, but then what you don't see in like I said, I think there's so much attention to detail in this movie is he holds the people in his hand and he puts it in the popcorn bag. And it
Right.
was just a cool thing. He didn't just eat them and they disappear. Like he's gonna put them in the cotton candy cocoon. And like
Right.
you said, it was, one of the brothers probably was like, "This is boring, pink cotton candy every time." And so they jazz it up a little bit. You know?
Oh, and if I glitch out at all, I can hear that a bad storm just started outside.
Okay.
So
All right, so we're gonna skip a bunch more pages. So then this guy, he's now pissed off. He's telling the younger policeman there's no such thing as killer clowns because they just report in about the T-Rex shadow eating all the people, and he doesn't care. He doesn't believe in it. And as soon as he gets off the phone, he's looking at the clown.
right.
And so he thinks that it's just a joke. They're putting him up to it. He's not messing around. Dumb college kids.
I love his arc in this movie in that he has no arc. He starts being like, "This is just kids messing with me,"
Mhm.
and he dies still thinking it's just kids messing with him.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is just great. Yeah, because he just has the like smug, like indignant, like doesn't care, just like oh,
Right.
it's just a stupid dumb clown. Didn't believe any of it. And again, you don't see the kill. Like you see, he puts the flowers in his face. Underrated actor though. I do love that guy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't remember there. He wasn't killed on screen. They just kind of show it off, and then he's the puppet afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, which again to me is the most like actual horror moment in the movie. Like, him being the puppet and communicating on behalf of the clowns. Like, I'm like, oh, that's a creepy moment.
Yeah. Well, he puts him in the cell with these guys. These guys, it doesn't take long for them to be cotton candy.
Yeah.
And then we get back to her in the shower. She gets out of the shower. Oh, it flashes to something else. Why does it flash to something else?
We just want to see the shower.
Yeah. But again, yeah, when she gets in the shower, like they like show her feet. Like
Yeah.
it is so tame, it's not even funny.
Yeah, the camera pans down and it's almost like
Um, then we have oh, this is so good. Carrying cotton candy people. All right, so yeah, this is pretty much the extent of it. So she's in the shower. I think they went backwards. Oh, here we go. So she's now going to put the clothes in the hamper,
Right.
and then here's the things that pop out. So this is the popcorn, what the popcorn transformed into,
Yeah.
and it attacks her. And this was felt like Beetlejuice-ish.
Yeah, like Beetlejuice-ish, like Critters almost a
Well,
little bit.
granted, they worked on Critters.
Well,
And
there
so
you go.
like, they
There you go.
definitely did I think they did all of the creatures and
Right.
did all the critters, and then they actively were like on 3 and 4. Like they did those movies. I think they were like heavily involved, but I still think they did the actual first Critters.
Yeah.
I think they created them. I think they did all the puppeting and all that
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah, and so this was just wild because it was very cartoonish, which was I guess which adds to the charm to this
Sure.
because it's just a little wild. Let's see. Yeah, and yeah, these things are a little creepy. Yeah, very very creepy. And then they attack her. Let's see, and then you have the one that's in the toilet, which then just reminds me of the Ghoulies poster.
I keep forgetting about the toilet. Yeah.
Yeah, so she fights him off.
Yeah, she holds her own, man. Like she does her best about against a whole bunch of these things.
Yeah, there's something about the final girl.
Right.
Let's see. Which I mean, it's I don't even think it's a trope at this point. It's like a necessity.
Right.
You
Right.
have to have the final girl, and even in this movie, even though there's multiple people that end up at the end, she kind of is the final girl. Like if you were to like, if everybody were to be killed off, like she has that same arc where she's, helpless. She gets captured, but at the end of the story, she's like fighting everybody off.
Mm-hmm.
And then they stick her in the balloon. It's great.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, so it's just a different thing. I feel when I looked at this, so they took all the other ones, they put them in the cotton candy cocoon, and then we see later on they put the crazy straw in and suck all the blood out. Those are just food. They put her in the balloon. I think they were going to save her. I think they were going to turn her into a concubine. And I don't think it was ever discussed. I just feel like, because like, why else would they put her in the balloon? Why else would they save her? It's just a different mentality. Because all the other cotton candy ones, they're just food.
Right. Sure. I thought the same thing, but then my brain goes like, well, what about the blonde with the pizza?
They put her in a cotton candy. She wasn't good enough.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. That was just my thought process.
Yeah. She was a little too thoughty for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have this guy. So this is, again, we get back to the slapstick. We get back to, they probably pulled from the Three Stooges in this scene here. So you have all these clowns here show up, and the security guard basically tells them to stop what they're doing. And all of a sudden he gets hit with a million pies. So you get the pie gag. Which I don't usually expect to see a pie gag in a movie ever. I just think it's like old, outdated, old black and white stuff. You see it in cartoons every now and again, and it kind of works there, but you almost never expect to see a pie gag in a real film today.
Yeah. And it's rough because like at first it's comical, but then it starts like covering him and melting him. Like it's...
Yeah. It was not, it wasn't a pleasant experience, but it's still a pie gag nonetheless.
Yeah.
He gets completely covered. He's gone now.
There he is.
He's melted, dead. But it's just something I did not expect to see in this movie, and somehow it works.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else they got. There he is, all melted and nothing. And then this one waves. So again, you just add in, like, again, I said the attention to detail, just a wonderful film. Skip to the end. Let's just skip to the end. All right, so I went too far to the end. Then you have Clownzilla, which is ginormous. So they've gone off, they've killed all the clowns, and then Clownzilla shows up, and they lower it in. It almost looks like a marionette puppet as it lowers in on these like strings, and before it starts, walking and doing its thing. And then one of the brothers was in this suit. I don't know which one, but it was just huge. And the cop has an arc where he's going to let everybody go and sacrifice himself.
Right.
But he also is the only one. And I don't know why he didn't really share the information. I don't think he shared the information. He figured out if you shoot them in the nose or hurt their nose, they die.
I think he tells Tobacco at some point, but by the time he conveys the information, like we're like 5 minutes to the end of the movie, and it's like, well, what's he going to do with that?
Yeah. So the Clownzilla is so big, you can see like he's grabbing him, and that's his hand. So he picks him up, and he gets close enough, so he's able to finally, as he sacrifices himself. I don't think that was the plan to actually be able to kill him. I think it was just to let everybody go. Yeah. He's able to, break his nose. Clownzilla dies, explodes everything, and that's it. And then at the end, the spaceship's going off, but then at the end, he does do that, and everybody's safe, everyone's happy, and then they say, what do they say at the end? They said, "Is it over?" And then all of a sudden, like the pies come down on that, right. And there's like the sprinkling of like all the like the clown dust or whatever, and like that's the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. If any movie deserved a sequel, in these like B movies, it would have been this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad there's one now.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, it's encouraging to hear that it's actually in production. I mean, this many years later, I have no idea what that movie's
You
gonna
have the
be.
original main actor there, so Mike Tobacco there, he's gonna be in it, apparently.
Yeah, yeah,
And well, and then with the I think with them putting the money into the video game,
hmm,
I think that they're gonna end up putting money into this film.
sure,
So, there is that for me, there's always that fear in the modern filmmaking where it's gonna go so far off the rails, it's not what it originally was. And I
right.
don't want a rehashing, obviously, of this. I'd like a nice sequel. I'd like something different. Like when I watch the Critters films, I'm glad that each one of them's different. So I'd like something different. But then are we going to get something filled with CGI? The part of the
Yeah,
charm of this film is the monster suits, it's the practical makeup, it's the special effects, it's no CGI. I mean, the closest thing to CGI, and I doubt that it was, because I think it was probably all drawn in, was the shadow puppet.
yeah. The shadow puppet was drawn. Yeah,
Yeah, so if you don't do that into this modern film, I don't know. You know,
I don't know either. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like CGI touch ups, but as long as the brothers are still involved, I'd be willing to bet that it's still going to be practical.
I think it will be, but then you have to like look at the other thing. So Lloyd Kaufman, love him for everything that he's done.
Yeah,
Great independent filmmaker, but the Toxic Avenger is getting Hollywood treatment. Peter Dinklage is going to be Toxie,
yeah. That whole
and
mess.
that whole film they're putting a ton of money into it, and I
Hmm.
just don't feel it's going to be even close to what the original was. And the original, I mean, is considered B movie schlock, but
Yeah,
out of all the Lloyd Kaufman things, the Toxic Avenger got multiple sequels, and it got a 4K,
right.
and it had a cartoon when we were kids, and it had toys in the toy aisle. So
Yeah, the toy line was great.
Toxic Avenger is kind of like a big deal, and now it's finally getting the Hollywood treatment after so long. But like, look at all the Hollywood treatment things that have happened recently. They're not they're not what they were.
Right. Yeah, when I heard the rollout for what they were doing with that remake, I'm like, this is such an example of absolutely no one is actually asking for this.
No, no. And so that's the thing is, well, no one's really asking for killer clowns, but I'll take it. I'm
I'll
just
take it.
I'm just curious of what they're gonna do. And like that's my my issue with the Beetlejuice sequel, right? Is
Right.
it's 30 something years later, even probably, I mean, I don't know when that came out. It came out in the 80s, clearly. So 30
Hey,
something years later, close to 40
yeah.
years later, we're gonna be doing a sequel, and a lot of the same people are involved, but it's not going to have that same charm. I just don't see it because let alone let's just say they do practical effects. They do like the rubber monster suits in either any of these films.
Yeah.
I doubt very highly that they're going to use the same camera that they used back then,
Hmm.
which adds to that charm.
Yeah, yeah. I
When
get
you look at an old film and then you try to make a sequel with a modern camera,
you. Hmm.
it's one of those things it's not the same now.
Yeah, and I'm looking like, especially with something like the Beetlejuice sequel, I'm looking at it from like a character and storytelling perspective. And like the first place my mind goes to is like I don't want to see Winona Ryder in her middle age still all gothed out. Like that was part of her arc as a character is she was the prototypical gothy
Speak
teen.
for yourself.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
I was a teenage boy once. I've got
Eh,
fantasies.
Hey, look, I nothing but love for Winona. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is for her character
Yeah, I
to
know.
if they roll her out and she's still all gothed out, it's like that's not how it works. Like these things are fads that teenagers come in and out of. Like,
Yeah.
but if they keep her that way to make her recognizable for the sake of the movie, I'm like, you're kind of missing the point.
I don't know what they're gonna do. I have no idea what they're gonna do. And I mean, that's something I didn't even think of. My mindset went straight to the stop motion animation, the practical effects, the puppeteering, like all that stuff, the claymation they did,
Yeah,
and then the actual film camera is not even going to be there. So that changes the entire thing. And so for me, in an old film like that, if you're doing a sequel, the film camera that was used originally almost is like how towns in certain movies become a character. That film camera is basically the film.
Yeah,
Without that, you have something completely different. You have
and with the exception of like Big Fish and Big Eyes, like the past 20 years for what's his name, Tim Burton, he's become like hyper obsessed with like weird CGI tricks and storytelling. So is he just going to bring all of that into Beetlejuice, and then that completely ruins it?
Yeah, no, and that's what I think, because I think, at the time, Beetlejuice was a product of the 80s. And if they had the ability to do the CGI and special effects that they could do now back then,
Yeah.
the whole thing would have been CGI. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But it gives it a aesthetic, it gives it a special look. And you're just not going to get that today. And then if they even try to recreate that digitally, it's going to feel fake. It's going to feel off-putting.
Right.
Yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. And I just said, like, I'm interested in it. I'm not going like, I'm not digging my heels in and going, screw this movie, I hate this, blah blah blah. I'm just apprehensive and already aware of the things that I know that I'm not going to be a fan of. And
Yeah.
I would hope, but they're not going to do it.
Same here.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, no, there's that. Yeah. Anything else about this before we wrap it up?
No, man. I mean, it's a classic from the 80s. I love this thing to death, and yeah, I don't know, man. I am cautiously optimistic for the sequel.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, this one I am going to be checking out the video game though, because I do love Killer Klowns. I think it's great. The video game looks wonderful, and I would show you guys the trailer, but
Copyright.
every time I've showed a trailer, it's created issues with the copyright thing, and even though I try to fight it and say it's fair use, it becomes an issue. So
Right.
we're gonna check out the trailer for the video game. If you're watching this on the back end and you made it this far, I'll put the link down below. But with that, we'll catch you guys next time.
Later. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Who hired you?
To go now, goodbye.